Is that where you're going to be?
Well,
all right, you should be getting the message that we should be going live
sir.
on YouTube.
We are on Facebook too.
I see a Facebook notification. Hey, there we are.
I see it. And I'm just going to text the other.
Is that where you're going to be? Where'd it go? Which one? You should be getting the message that we should be going live on YouTube.
We're now live on YouTube.
Somebody needs to turn down their volume.
I did. That was me. My YouTube decided that it was going to actually have the volume on for a change. So I was like,
instead of being muted automatically.
So,
that is correct.
So welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our first episode back from Star Wars Celebration. First off, thank you very much to everybody who held down the fort while we were all having fun in jolly old England. I watched the episode with Chris and Leilani. You guys did a bang up job. But I'm Spencer. I'm back. I'm jet lagged.
And the killer threads.
Yeah, it's a great shirt.
Represent.
One of the shirts that I picked up over there. But welcome to another week of the virtual Cantina watch along, and boy, do we have a doozy tonight. I was one of the fortunate ones who were able to watch this episode in London, and cool. Damn. But first and foremost, our producer tonight is Dave. Dave, how are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing well this evening. How about yourself?
I am glad to be home, glad to be back with you guys, and I'm looking forward to talking Celebration more with everybody this coming Tuesday on our happy hour. A lot of news, a lot of stuff, behind the scenes stuff to talk about, but also the host of CNN. This is CNN. Ashley, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you, Spencer?
I am fantastic. And Senor Pepe, how are you?
Good. We had fun doing that show.
It was fun.
We used what kind of content we could find from your guys' sources and others as well, and did some little wrap-ups that people seem to like, so that's cool.
It was great. I actually was telling Dave I watched all 4 episodes today, so
oh yay.
And fresh from the pirate tour, Mr. John Anaka, how are you, sir?
I'm great. Had a wonderful time in London with everybody that came over. We had a blast, and it's great to catch up with these episodes. I missed them. When you're at Celebration, you're not really catching up with everything that's going on Disney Plus. So really good to catch up with everything, and really excited to talk to Tait tonight about tonight's episode. So
it's extremely apropos for a multitude of reasons that we have this gentleman on the show tonight. Besides the fact that he's just a badass dude in life, and also he gives Samuel L. Jackson a run for a badass MFer in this particular episode. Mr. Tait Fletcher. Tait, how are you, sir?
I'm well, thanks. How are y'all?
Doing great. Excited. Now, I want to preface this to to everybody. While watching this, when this episode was over, and I messaged Tait after this episode, I'm like, damn, bro. This was just absolutely insane. If you've watched it, we'll watch it all together, and Tait will give some insight on it. But
and you had me at a horrible disadvantage because I had not seen it.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
Well, I think he's like.
I had some ideas. Ideas about what might happen.
So overall, you didn't know exactly what scenes you were shooting were going where exactly, kind of thing.
Right. I mean, like a lot of the stuff on the ship, I had no idea that I didn't know those would be in the same episode. I mean, I didn't know the magnitude of the episode. I was like, oh, I guess that's all woven together here. But it was, what powerful.
Talking about the ship, that was an amazing scene as well with you and
Max.
Yeah.
Simon. Yeah.
Axwell.
What a gentleman, man. What a great guy to work with.
Oh, so I finally actually got to meet Simon this past weekend, and what a great guy.
Yeah.
He was very suave. He was cool. I think he gave Giancarlo a run for his money.
He's got that refined gentleman vibe going pretty strong. You know what I mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a real one. That guy, he's a great dude, man. First time I met him, he walks up on the stage, and we're just in, not even rehearsals, just Rick and they're just talking about the episode and what's going to go on. Him and Favreau, Filoni, and all of us, and comes up, he goes, "Yeah, so I just keep dying, and they keep bringing me back on this show."
That's what he kept on talking about over the weekend. He was like, they gave me a call. They said, we found a way. And he's like, all right, I'll be at work. You know?
And then that became the line, right? On set was, nobody dies in Star Wars. Filoni said that, right? Filoni goes, "Oh, nobody dies in Star Wars." And I was like,
Ah.
"We'll see."
No one's ever really gone.
Pour my blue milk. Like,
There you go. That would be that's the real honor right there, is to be the first one to ever really die in Star Wars.
I mean, as it stands, I'm good with it. I mean, what an honor the whole thing is, and
Amazing episode.
Well,
and the way that turned out, and for how that felt filming it, and to watch it, and all the stuff that was going on for me, for other people that are in the cast, and it was intense. It was really, really what
There is a lot packed into that episode. So many nuanced pieces and just elements that they use for just a few seconds or a few minutes, and
right.
but
so, Dave, if you want to ask questions to Tait tonight, where would people be reaching out?
Well, if you want to ask questions tonight, you are more than welcome to ask them over in the Facebook feed, though I hear that the Facebook feed is a little glitchy. If you're glitching out on Facebook, please join us over on YouTube. I put a link to that in the chat on Facebook. YouTube's always much smoother for whatever reason in the broadcast, but you can ask questions either place, and at an opportune time, we will get them asked right in here.
So we are watching chapter 23 tonight, which is the 7th episode, season 3. We got one more episode left. I can't believe we're at the final, almost the final episode of the season. But let's start this off with a bang, shall we?
Can you tell me really quickly where folks will go on YouTube and Facebook to ask questions right now, so I can put that out?
Sure.
So direct them to YouTube for sure.
Yeah.
The Virtual Cantina on the YouTube.
Yeah. So
Yep.
virtual
YouTube.com/the Virtual Cantina Network.
Okay. So if you guys go to the Virtual Cantina Network on YouTube.com, you're going to be able to ask questions as we watch this live tonight. If you guys are watching along and you have any questions for me, please chime in there. Cool.
Awesome. So let's first address the bantha in the room. Jeff, why don't you ask the question?
There's been weird kind of rumors ever since this character premiered or debuted, I should say. There's a recognizable voice as your character's voice. We found out later you were in the suit, but we heard Jon Favreau originally speaking as Paz. And this season, there's been talk that there's been a change to that. So what we want to know is, are you the voice? Is it a combination of voices? Is it something different?
What's it sound like?
He still has the tinge of John in my ear, but it doesn't sound exactly the same. So
It's a little different in different episodes too, it seems like. There's subtle variations, it seems like. It's
okay. So there may be.
Listen, I know everybody asks me this stuff online and all that. And I don't know. I absolve myself of answering. I just don't. I'm like, it's, So here's this huge creation piece that is out of John's soul created and is all this, and then there's me in the opening act of the whole mythology that is this art piece, and as another character, and so my voice is that also, right? And so I don't know, and then I know John wanted to play the character, he wanted to be part of Paz, and so it just kind of dovetailed, I think, perfectly for that. That being said, in this latest thing, when they say, oh, it's different and it's varied, and I don't know about all that. I know that every time I come to work as an actor, I come and I do all the work, right? I'm prepared, I'm off book, and what happens in the editing process, I have no idea.
So
and so that's the answer to that question for me. I don't know what's about, with all that. I just, I appreciate the acknowledgement.
as a follow-up, do you do like a booth session where you say all the lines?
Oh, we're mic'd up on set, and there's
Right.
boom mics. I mean,
So they record
you're
you for
doing it
sure.
just like you would do any other film. It's not any
Okay.
different.
That's cool.
I would think that with the helmet that there might be a different element involved just
Just
for
that
that.
the microphone's on the inside of the helmet instead
Yeah.
of on your chest or under your blouse or
Yeah.
something.
That makes sense. Okay. Thank you for that.
Yeah, sure. It's as clear as that is as an answer.
No.
That was an answer. That's all we needed.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
No, that was absolutely is fantastic to just to see all this press involving your character. I mean, obviously there was a lot of rumors like, oh, the voice changed because the helmet's going to come off and it's going to appear.
I saw a lot of
speculation.
talk about it.
This feels like the speculation we had around Vader and Dave Prowse's voice and Earl James. It's just it's that kind of
We're hearing,
speculation, right?
Peter doing Chewbacca's lines in English instead of.
And speaking of Peter, I just want to give a shout out. Unfortunately, the day celebration started, we lost Angie Mayhew. So
horrible.
Now Angie is with her Wookiee.
Yeah.
Love to the Mayhew family. I know it felt.
And not forgetting dear old Norman Reynolds passed away shortly before Celebration. One of the production executives for the original trilogy, Indiana Jones, etc. And I was fortunate enough to receive a letter from Norman a few months before he died. And what a legend, what an absolute legend that man was. So rest in peace, Norman Reynolds.
So I also want to plug, because I just got this when I came back from Celebration, but I got my official Paz Funko. Which
is that the one? Does he have the gun or is the vibroblade?
This is the vibroblade.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, that's
cool.
This was the exclusive that you got at GameStop.
Cool.
Which I was very excited about, because I have Heavy, which I had you sign for me in Rhode Island, but I just got that, so I'm very stoked about that. So, like I said, if you have any questions for Tait, and I know they're filling up on both the other pages, please do so. But one of the big questions is that obviously, you said when we were originally talking about this, you didn't know where certain scenes were going in certain places. You had talked a lot about the boat. We'll talk about more. But what was like when you finally, before we watched the full episode, and you've watched it since then. What was your impression of this, like the overall arc of your character, especially in this episode, but throughout the entire 3 seasons of Mandalorian?
I mean, for me, it was steady. You never know where it's going to go. I don't know at season 1 that there's going to be a 3rd season or that I'm involved in it. Right. I don't know any of that. So it looks and feels a certain way in retrospect when you work in film, because it's like I was at a convention, I don't know, a couple months ago, and a guy comes up and goes, God, and this is great, and Breaking Bad and The Equalizer, and he's looking at all this, and he says, how did you know how you wanted your career to go, or something like that? And I smile and I go, I never thought about it like that. Maybe it would have been great if I had, but I was just trying to get the next job. And this looks like a career to you from your perspective after you see it finished, right? But or in progress rather. So yeah, it's the archipause inside of that is the whole question of whether he's dead or not in Mando season 2, and then going on from there in the exposure in Book of Boba Fett was cool. I knew, Bryce called me and she's like, hey, I'm going to direct this episode that you're in. And that was when I knew I was going to be in an episode, right? It's like it's like there's a lot of communication that goes in certain routes. And so that was the first tip off. And then coming into season 3 though, I didn't have any idea. I didn't know how excited I was until I got there. and you start like you walk onto set and you're like, there's these little baby Mandos and all these other, and you're like,
Aw.
oh my God, they're doing this in the way that I want to see it, with that kind of passion and all these different entities out of the Mandalorian. Like, who are they? Where do they come from? How do they walk now? What do they look like? What is this? And to walk into that and go, God, this is what we're creating. Just top-notch excitement from day one.
How did you feel getting them, having them build you a family, basically?
Yeah, right. What a trip and what an honor. I was just texting with Wesley's dad earlier. I mean, the whole thing becomes familial in so many ways here, and to have Paz written in and become a father figure is tremendous in that way.
I mean, they highlighted you, especially during the say the bar or the baptism in episode 1 of this season. We're all saying, because they kept on doing close up to you throughout the entire time, like that's his kid.
Yeah, and my helmet.
Called it.
Yeah, the colors. Yes. Even though
and what
he does have a helmet that is reminiscent of something else. I did base this on your helmet as well, though, so I can't say that I came up with the idea first, since I was basing it on
kids' helmets they look a little different than the full grown adult.
Yeah, that's the other thing too.
There were so many cool helmets on that too. I mean, woven leather, like the little kids had the best helmets. They were the craftsmen on that show. That's the thing. When I talk about working on the show, it's like that's what comes to mind is all the craftsmen, all the crew, all the cast. You're working with excellence in all these different. And if they weren't when they started, they're people brand new on the show. Man, they get brought right up to speed. It's a crazy learning experience it's like learning hypertrophy kind of. It's really great. It was great.
The best comment over on YouTube right now is that Boba Fett's going to come in and take you to his modifier and give you like some cybernetic.
Oh, his
with the vacuum machine.
Kick Cobb Vanth out of there and put you in there.
I've been practicing with ice baths, so I'm hoping that it works.
I mean, they did it with the mountain in Game of Thrones. It's entirely possible. So
There you go.
So if you're watching over on YouTube or you're watching on Facebook, please thank you very much for joining us tonight. We are going to be watching in a few minutes episode 23, which is chapter 7. Chapter 7, episode 23 on your Z Plus machine. So make sure you do that. And we may or may not have a special guest during the episode to enhance our experience with already the incomparable Tait Fletcher. So we're happy to have him with us tonight. So if you have any questions for Tait, please bring it in. So you've worked with such a crew over the last couple of years doing Mandalorian. I mean, it must have been like I would have to say a master's class as well of just honing your craft, just working with such incredible people. I mean, everybody from the master Giancarlo all the way through, working with, Brendan and Pedro and Emily and Katie. It's just Katie with the awesome shoulder pads, as we were talking about on her jacket at Celebration. But so I mean, what a treat that is as an artist to be able to play those kind of sandboxes.
Yeah, I mean, it's the very best. And to be able to see, everybody has a different route and everybody has a different way of being. And to be able to see people that all are at a high level of their proficiency in their craft, and to see how all that gets manifest in different ways. It's like watching different coaching, or taking different cues from different experts in a field. I'm riding horses a lot right now, and I'm riding with a lot of wranglers and guys that are, bullfighters and rodeo guys, all just top level horsemen. But like everybody has a different way of teaching and so it's like you're getting that all the way from, and whether that's from grips, from people in props, from the director, it's like everywhere. It's like there's that language everywhere where people are trying to speak to the higher good. What would best practice be? Right? How can we get efficient at best practice right now? That's what that stuff is like. So even just under that kind of a culture, that gets created in those microcosms, you grow exponentially, I think. And then, just to be privy, the more aware you are, the more you get to grow, right? And so, I mean, you're just ear hustling these conversations of Filoni talking to Deborah Chow and John and Carl Weathers about, well, let's look at it like this, and how do we create tension in this 3 seconds right here where these guys glance at you? And to see it through somebody else's eyes that has that much experience is such a special thing that I feel really privileged to have been there for a lot of that. Yeah.
Very cool.
Like, talk about someone who could give you cues on how to have a memorable and long-lasting death scene would be Carl Weathers. Like, let's learn how to go out with a blaze of glory like Apollo Creed.
You're breaking up there a little, Dave.
So what you're trying to say is they should have brought in James Brown to perform right before that scene. Gotcha. That
would have been great. It would have been a great stage for it. Something else.
Having worked with all these having worked with all these amazing directors, besides John and Dave, is there any individual that really you've taken the most from in terms of, helping your craft?
Seeing the way Rick moves through the world is it's calming and gives confidence at the same time. He's a guy that's thought about it, that's looking at it, and that has, like, you can really trust that. And he was wonderful to work with. I mean, everybody was. The director for the 5th episode in that cave scene, and that was a really beautiful, epic time to be able to. It was really special being in there. It was way crazy. Like, usually when I see stuff on screen, I'm like, that's way grander than what happened in that cave on that set. That was way bad. It was insane. And there's those moments that me and Emily have together or whatever it's like, dude, was that real? Because you have to check in and pinch yourself, like, what is going on right now? It's Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
As someone said on the celebration stage last week, we're making Star Wars, baby.
I think that was one of the Acolyte cast.
Yeah.
How amazing was it seeing spoiler alert, Grogu running around in IG-12?
Dude, how great was it running around with him? That was amazing.
Was that how much of a practical?
I got to give a shout out to the guy, Mike Manziel, that works at Legacy Effects, helped build my costume for Paz, was an operator for Grogu all the time, and is an unassuming looking guy, just a really kind fellow who straps on like full metal, but padded because it would cut you. It's so heavy. Like, straps around a harness tight, 8 cinches, and then weights off a pipe on the back of his back, like 35-pound weights at the end of that to counterbalance, because he's holding IG-12 in front of him. And that's how he has, and this is a big steel droid. It's not plastic. It's insane. And then we run down a hill. When we go down into the forge, he's in front of me, and I'm like, I just hope my man. I was so impressed. And that's a guy you'll never know. Like, I'm so impressed with people that we're never going to know their names on a ubiquitous. Oh, these are but that are the integral parts of Star Wars. Him, Don Diggins, Tamara, like these people that. I mean, I could name everybody. To name anybody leaves out too many people.
If you name people, just name people that have been on our show, like Don.
But hopefully Star Wars fans are good enough about this. I mean, we have cosplays of Boom Mic Guy, so at the next celebration, you're going to get people with like the big foam backpack and the rods that go all the way out. And
I see it happening, because there was a guy at Celebration this past week in a complete green jumpsuit, rolling a BB-8 as if he was Brian Herring around the floor. So
it's getting beyond what we recognize as cosplay. Anyway, before we begin tonight's episode, I got a less than serious question for Tait. Should Mandalorian stay away from water?
Well, you're a little weighted, right? You want to make sure that your jetpack works really well in the water.
Every time a Mandalorian gets anywhere near water, something's happening. Bad.
Yeah, it seems like cats in the water. Like, they'll do it if they have to, but they really don't want to.
Especially when you got Meth Gator hanging around there a couple of times.
The way Bid sunk like a rock.
Yeah, right?
Right?
Yeah,
that's all I need to know. Gravity works underwater. Let's go.
Well, that's the specialty. We see Scuba Mando.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're about at the top of the hour right now. So if everybody can queue up their D+ machines, we'll be ready to start off this episode. This is actually the first time I've watched it since Celebration. I'm excited to watch this with Tait and also with all you guys. So it's like I just say, people laughed, people cried, and then you heard a pin drop.
Yep.
In a theater of 4,500 people. So yeah, this is a treat. So with that in mind, we're going to start the 10-second countdown. In 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, play.
Are we skipping the recap?
No, we're going to watch the recap. We love the recap.
Very good. All right. I just want to know.
Helps trigger those memories
people
as well.
People skip the recap.
I'll be right back. I promise.
All right. We'll be here.
Since Jake, I'm sorry. I felt very fortunate that I was able to sit in the room and watch it with 4,500 people.
It was just like the Kenobi premiere. It was amazing.
Yeah, I would imagine this is a pretty intense episode, so that had to have been a great crowd reaction thing.
You heard a pin drop, like literally people were cheering, they were laughing.
Well, they showed us a little bit of a sneak peek of this episode in the Lucasfilm Showcase panel, and said, if you come back this evening, you can watch all of this. So
was that like at Kenobi where you had to come back with your wristband or whatever? And
absolutely
correct.
Well,
they gave us the wristbands in the morning. They're like, pick this off. There's something what you're going to need with it, and we're all thinking to ourselves, looking like, all right, something's happening. We're coming back the night before.
This is more than just a poster.
Well, if they tell you to come back, that's definitely
but they kept saying, "Don't lose it, and don't give it away, and don't." Okay.
Don't take it off.
I want to give a nod in our chat right now over on YouTube. Our third place winner of Aldron Idol 2023, Mr. Gary Young.
Peter.
Peter. Gary's there, Peter. But Peter is.
Spencer's new.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Hey, Peter. Hope you're okay. Hope you had a safe journey back. Loved you as George Lucas. That was amazing. I was in line for Rosario, and I heard "Hey, mate" behind me, and it was looking at this guy, thinking, "Who the heck are you?" And it was definitely Peter, but dressed as George Lucas. So
cool.
And I also want to give a shout out also because I know you guys talked about our member Bryn, who is All-Around Idol contestant, how she got Emily onto the Navarro set with the Belgians. She walked into her photo op with Rosario, looking very sullen, and Rosario was like, "Are you okay?" She's like, "Yeah, I was told this was gonna be a donkey show."
I love that story. I laughed so hard, and that picture came out so good.
That was great. And Rosario was just announced for Fan Expo Boston this summer. So
this whole scene here with this
Blade Runner.
Yeah, it's all Blade Runner.
Love it.
Like this is Blade Runner, that pan shot down with all the neon.
And that's with the trench coat as well.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that too, very much so. Meeting up with a synthetic in the alley.
Our girl Katie looking awesome.
That's Katie.
So amazing.
So badass.
She plays this role
Evil
wonderfully.
little shit.
Just that
Yeah,
look,
it's just like, yeah,
that
I'm gonna
look.
not only gonna be your friend, but I'm gonna fry your effing brain, and then I'm gonna eat your cookies,
Yeah.
bro.
I eat your cookies.
The dark side does takes backseats
Yeah.
with the cookies. I'm just
Eating the
saying that.
cookies was just one step too far for me. That was
Yeah, that was it. She was cool
Yeah.
until then. This is amazing, this little hologram
So
thing.
so this was the scene that they showed us in Lucasfilm Showcase panel. They showed us the entire scene.
Oh,
Through the next scene. They showed us the next scene as well. So which was kind of cool. But
this must be hard for you guys, Tate, because when I met Katie in Anaheim last year, it was like we were talking about, season 2 or whatever it was, and she's standing there going, "You don't know that I'm just making season 3, and I know stuff that you don't know." It must be cool to do that. To say,
You think of what I've held for this last year.
You don't know what I know.
When we met you in Rhode Island this past year, it's like you knew everything that was going to be coming down the pike.
Right. And I knew so little that I met Katie on another film called Love Lies Bleeding that we filmed last summer. And so that's where I meet her, right? And I meet this fit chick. We both have martial arts backgrounds and whatever, and we click and we're buddies and all that. And then the next time I see her, I'm at a signing and they call all the Star Wars people to go back for a group photo. And then she's there. And
that's cool.
Yeah,
I love that
Small
scene of, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm good. I just said it was a small world.
Oh, small world. Okay.
Yeah.
That scene of him walking through those past those force fields is so reminiscent of episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
It really dates anybody that knows that the first opening scene looked like Blade Runner.
Oh, well, we were just talking about that. We all felt that.
Of course I did.
So this section was the tease for London. This is the tease to come back in the evening. This whole little section.
We have Sean a lot online about how she, especially in the stuff with Coruscant and with Katie, was very much influenced by Blade Runner.
Definitely.
Yeah. So this scene, the officer with the mustache, the white-haired officer with the mustache, that is Xander Berkeley. He was on The Walking Dead. He was, I forget what his character name was in The Walking Dead, but it was part of Alexandria. He was also the one that tried to kill Maggie.
How about the fact so you got Hux's father?
Yeah.
Played by his brother.
Right. Yeah, played by his brother. He looks like him, but he's not. And I'm like, wait a second, it's got to be his dad.
Okay, and then now they talk about Grand Admiral Thrawn, and now that we all know who is playing Grand Admiral Thrawn, that was just like standing ovation and celebration when he finally came out.
I got my wish.
Yeah.
God, he is something else to watch, Giancarlo.
Oh yeah.
His character's amazing. Everything he does an amazing job. But.
So when he came out on the Lucasfilm Showcase panel, without introduction, he said, "Long live the Empire!" And just everyone
the whole
nuts.
Was nuts. Yeah, it was great.
His final scene in Breaking Bad. Oh,
that's insane.
I finally caught up to that scene because I'm late to the party, and it was just probably one of the most brutal things I've ever seen.
Brutal.
Yeah, that was hardcore
and crazy, unexpected.
Oh yeah,
especially when the way that Gil frames all that with
you can
comes
jump
out
the shark
on the one
really
side and he fixes his tie and then they pan around and you see that.
So good.
Amazing.
I don't know about
great having him back in Better Call Saul.
I don't know about your experience with Giancarlo, but I think I'm one of very few people that have had I wouldn't say an argument, but a disagreement over something, and I won.
And you get to live?
Yeah. He said that Pedro Pascal had not acted in King Lear on Broadway, and I said he had, and I was right.
And he proved it.
And I remind him every time I see him.
I bet he loves that.
Oh yeah.
But no, it's like this. Every arc and everything that we thought we learned in the past few seasons, this episode in particular flipped the script on
Oh, yeah.
everything. It was just like, wow.
The push towards like the future of Star Wars in this episode is like incredible.
Oh yeah.
Tate, it must give you immense pleasure, right? I mean, if you were sat in the back of an audience or whatever, for us to sit and watch this episode and just literally be not confused, excited, enthralled, sad, happy, all of those emotions, right? As actors, you just kind of go to the, when you see the public just go, what on earth is happening right now?
Right. I love this too, the way this is shot. This is an overview. This is a 10,000 foot view of what the Empire is looking at, right? And then you go into the action of all the Mandalorians and what's happening. Then it's a great opening to that action.
And his reaction when he talks about the Mandalorians, right? His reaction to it, his facial expression and just his mannerism, just there's just a total hatred for that particular type of clan or whatever,
which is odd considering the helmet he dons later. But
spoiler alert.
Again, hopefully,
yeah, but you borrow from your enemy.
Ron does the same. Learn their weaknesses, learn their arts, and
I mean, everybody does.
Hey,
you go back to native cultures of eating the hearts out of the enemy of the good warriors that you killed, right? To gain their spirit,
right?
So when I messaged Tate about this episode, the first thing he says to me is, "So how about that ship, huh?"
It was dope. It's so dope.
Yeah, this reveal of the underside of the ship is just.
Yeah.
You already sort of got a quick glimpse, but
part of me was like, did Sabine paint that? Like
a lot of cans of spray paint to get that done.
It's like painting the USS Bounty, right, Dave?
Just start from one end and
that is correct.
Start over when you get to another end.
You start the primer and then you do the paint, and then you do the primer, and it's a forever job.
That must have been quite a stencil you guys had,
Oh yeah, that would have been good.
But yeah, shout out to the Belgian prop makers for making the Navarro on the stage at Celebration. That was incredible.
That looks so cool. So cool.
All the pieces that they brought in were amazing. This is so cool, this view of this commandeered ship.
Yeah.
And how do you measure the space to just park that? Like, how?
Grogu chilling.
Back it up. Left a little.
Beep, beep, beep.
There you go.
This is very.
This must be Chris Bartlett, right? This is Chris with has to be Chris with
He's copper droid for sure.
Oh, yeah, it is.
But the white droid that we saw at the very beginning was as it flew over. I'm not sure if he did that.
I wonder if the back of the light cruiser actually has a bumper sticker that says "We brake for nobody." Like Spaceballs.
Yes.
That is a bad dude right there.
Oh yeah. He's like, take the kids and.
So, sorry to jump ahead a little bit, but because it's in my mind, we just saw the armorer. Is this the first time we've seen an armorer with a jetpack?
Yes.
Right? Because I hadn't seen that before.
That was
Didn't she
brand
use
new.
The jetpack in part of the fight against the alligator turtle thing.
No?
I think she just waited straight.
Yeah, so then she ran up on him.
I don't know if she jetpacked in and grabbed him.
Anyways,
Simon.
And Mercedes
dope too, man.
She's the best. I've known her.
There you go.
From the wrestling business, and she's a sweetheart.
Yeah.
There
I like
he
the
is.
color schemes going on here, where it's such a varying palette.
I love
those guys are all the same.
I've noticed every single meeting with the clan, whatever it is, Paz is out front. Paz is there. Paz is like The protector
the
represent
gatekeeper of it all.
the gatekeeper.
Yeah.
Right. That's the thing from the beginning of it with,
Hmm.
I mean, a lot of folks, I mean, you know, they're like, oh my God, I had trouble with Paz but then, you know, he won me over and now he's dead or whatever, like all the messages that are out there.
Right. Now
But
they
he's
feel
not, he's
sorry
never
for him.
changed.
Right.
Yeah.
He's been the guy that holds the line
Yeah.
Exactly.
of the tradition of what it is. And why is that? Because change can overtake you. And if you don't have a sustainable path, if you just run down anything and start throwing tradition away, well, you don't know what upsets the apple cart. And if the apple cart is your whole culture, you're careful of that. And so you slow it down. And I felt like that's what his whole role was.
Yeah.
Right.
It's going to change.
He's
But I need to
suspicious.
slow it down for their own safety because they're too eager.
Yeah.
Right.
He's
And it's the same here, holding the line at the end of the story.
you
I mean,
have to walk the way.
It's like do the right thing instead of the popular thing.
Yeah. You have
You're
to
gonna
walk the
Stand
way.
alone when you do the right thing sometimes,
Mhm.
and that's okay.
Yeah.
It was great when you guys did the council scene when you were holding the tongs. That you were
Right,
saying
that speech.
there's no, no
Oh,
one.
the hammer.
Yeah, the hammer. Yeah, I meant
Yeah.
that you didn't trust Din Djarin and he saved your son, and now you're willing to go into battle with him. And then when Bo-Katan shows up without the helmet again, you looked right at Din. Din nods his head, and you're like, okay, so this is the way it's going to be.
Right. Right. And those are the first little etchings that you see that Heavy has when he starts to go, okay, we're going to move this way in this slow way, and this is going to be acceptable. And that's what that whole speech is about. Yeah, we have a hard line of tradition, but what are we at the heart of us? We're Mandalorian.
Right.
Exactly.
And what does that mean? It means we're going to stand up and we're going to show up and we're going to follow through.
Yeah. You have to walk the way.
And we're going to be unified in that.
Right.
Right.
The biggest sin is to break us apart.
I think he
So
won
here we
over a
are.
lot of people with that speech.
So-
Definitely changed some people's minds on the character.
So that's what I think of the arc. I think it's the same guy all the way through, but
Yeah.
people have feelings about it emotionally. And those feelings aren't sound to act upon. And that's what Paz is saying.
Right. This is great.
And so I like that he hasn't changed. Although that everybody's attitude about him has.
Oh yeah.
Mhm. For the
This is so
better.
funny with the baby.
Does anybody else get like a Kang vibe from Turtles?
Yeah, that get just
Krang?
mess. Suits in general.
If
Yeah,
he was
Krang.
like a little bit lower down in the stomach, that's
Yeah, like
just
that.
it.
Or-
I love that the Anzellans remembered Grogu and was like, bad baby, no squeezy. But
Yeah.
And shout out to Shirley Henderson, my friend.
oh yeah, I love her.
Nobody could do that voice. Please do
Mhm.
not replace Shirley Henderson with the voice.
I was waiting for that was easy button.
That
was easy.
I like yes and no though. He just goes off with that yes, 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 as he's going around the office.
Yeah, he gets a little power hungry,
That is
right?
every 3-year-old ever.
Yeah.
Chicky nuggies.
Yeah.
What's funny about that though is that he could get that stuff without having an extra set of hands. He could, grab it with
But
the force or whatever.
What a
And a
wonderful,
melee run.
what a wonderful depiction of
Rebels.
what a child is really like.
Yeah.
It's
And
like
he's
no,
playing
no,
a
no,
video
no,
game.
no, no. It's okay. I can do this. No, please.
I want to
fine.
know if the ball that's on that controller is the ball from the razor.
Oh yeah.
And also, I want to know if that thing that was on the spit was the baby pterodactyl thing from the other episode. Because it looks like a bird, kind of.
I want to walk down Batu and see an IG-12 walking around with the baby Grogu at
That'd be
That would be
awesome.
amazing. That would be amazing.
Now, when you're wearing the armor, Tate, do you have how does it feel? Do you have a certain amount of swagger? Like that you just, I don't know, like your confidence level goes up
Change
when
your
you're wearing it?
posture.
You
Yeah.
don't really know what you look like, right? It's like you're standing up against the weight of it in that way. And so it's like, but yeah, I mean, it's fucking Paz Vizsla. It's like you're moving as strongly and as intentionally
Right.
with power and in line with what you can do there. So what is it?
Fill out
The
the
suit's
suit.
got limitations, right?
Right.
Mm.
But it's like, yeah, I'm bringing that movement to that.
I mean, huge kudos to you, because we've all seen stormtroopers and Mandalorian mercs, and it's so hard just to walk in a basic area. For you to do
You gotta
this,
be very deliberate about everything you do.
Yeah, I mean, like in Boba Fett, it was like, with the helmet and the smoke and different elevations and big chain, like you're counting steps. Okay, I have 2.5 steps, and then it goes down to 8 inches, and I take a step. I take a deep step because there's a bunch of chains. But it's like you're blind to it. Like you're counting steps.
As our dear friend Kevin Thompson, our wonderful family member of this group, said, when he appeared as an Ewok in Return of the Jedi, it's choreographed. 2 steps forward, 3 to the left, 4 forward, 3 to the right.
There was a guy that asked me. He says, you as an ex-professional fighter, well versed in combat, all sorts. What do you think could Paz have done anything different at the end there? And I was like, you understand it's a written story.
Just get so invested.
We're not in actual combat and just filming and seeing what happens.
I got a very much.
Maybe some people like to think that.
I got a vibe.
Well, maybe you should, because my money's on you. They did.
Yeah,
Mine too.
taking down all 3 of those guards.
Mine too.
I got a vibe of the Fellowship of the Rings during that War Council. You shall have my bow, and you'll have my axe, and you'll have my sword. It's like, and you'll have my Beskar spear.
You'll have my.
Somebody brought up Boromir in this also.
Really?
Oh no.
Oh dear.
A lot of ships. I love this.
That as they all come in and populate there.
Yeah, that's so cool.
I look at the first Star Wars ever, and it's not better graphics than what they did functionally. It's crazy how good that first Star Wars was.
Oh yeah, they were
It
groundbreaking.
blows my mind when I watch it. And I look at stuff they can do now, and I'm like, yeah, okay. But they did that with figurines and models.
Yep. Motion capture and
It's wild.
Innovation. They innovated all that stuff, which was.
And what's
amazing.
wild is they innovated that then because they needed to, right? How can we make this look not? And now they innovated this with the volume and everything. In this whole, it's crazy.
It's amazing that whenever we talk about Star Wars content, something's been invented along the way to make things happen, and that's George Lucas, right? George Lucas would always say, we'll have to get to this point and create something, and he'd say you'll figure it out. You'll think of something.
So you have that giant gun. Hunter wanted to know if that gun was like as massive and as heavy as it seems to carry around while you're shooting. How cumbersome, how difficult was it to deal with that big gun all the time?
Yes.
Exactly.
Is this the Brendan Wayne moment with the best spear?
It's
the bastard.
It's all of it. There's some cool shots though. It's heavy. It's all of the stuff, and then the coil that goes and hooks to my jetpack is. It's all a little whatever, right? And it's weighted
over the cable or anything.
Right, that cable. And that's heavy. It's all heavy. It's all whatever. But man, it's cool. And so I wanted it to look cool. And there's a couple things here, like when we're all walking away and I have it kind of cocked up over my shoulder and it's straight up in the air. It's like you make a choice like that, you're gonna have to shoot that 15 times. So you're gonna be up here, you're in an actual strength contest with your outfit, with your wardrobe, right? But it looks dope. And
it does.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. And then another part I'll show you when we come up here. But yeah, it's heavy, but it's balanced nicely. They built it beautifully, but it's just it's like anything, it's what it is. But also I'm the guy.
It's so massive. It's like it has to have something behind it, but you make it look a little more effortless just because you are so massive. So that kind of helps.
No, I'm watching you
really sell it.
I wanted it all to look like it was a part of my body, like it was like as if I were pointing a finger. I wanted it to seem like, because I'm living in this, right? If that's who Heavy is, then this has to be a toothbrush to him.
So I don't know where you are in this episode, but I'm watching you all sat, as you're coming over Mandalore, you're shaking your heads like, what's happened? And that point where Din Djarin is just watching over the drop onto the planet. I mean, that to me, with the trailer, was an amazing scene to see one drop like that. That was
everybody was looking forward to that scene.
When I walked through the stages and I saw that rig that they all dropped out of, right? That we're all seated on the right, and I was just like, oh my god, it's so. And then to see the drops, it's so cool.
Was it like a seat from a dunk tank or something?
That's Jeremy Fitzgerald was in Paz's suit in that particular scene, and he did that, and he was a ton of help. And Tom O'Connell also wore the suit and helped me carry that weight, and he helped through that final fight scene and was invaluable.
He was the fighting Vader for Obi-Wan as well.
That's right.
So.
That's right.
Oh, nice.
He's Vader also, and
So
all these guys, the excellence of this crew. JJ Dashnaw, the stunt coordinator.
Yes, Dash is awesome.
I saw things as like a second unit director that he was doing.
Yes.
That I've seen him. I've worked with him. I know to see him though double act, and so he's doing the fight with me. Everybody else is in motion around, so he's coordinating what everybody else is doing, and he's second unit directing, so he's checking it all fastidiously, going hard as hell, wrecking himself. His heart rate's up at 170. I mean, wow. I've never seen anybody juggle all those things at the same time. It's such a mastery. It's incredible.
You're currently working with Dash, aren't you?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, this ship, the reveal was so cool.
Yeah.
So we've done this several times, but did you get the vibe when you saw like the big crystals, like it was almost like the Fortress of Solitude, like from Superman?
Oh, cool. No, I hadn't. That's dope.
Yeah, when you first see the shots coming into the planet with those crystals poking up, it's very sort of Fortress of Solitude from the original Superman.
Yeah, he draws on a ton of shows from that to Friends. I mean, it's incredible.
Well, last season we got references to Office Space, so
right. And then here's Pete from Breaking Bad.
Did you work with him on Breaking Bad?
No. Just I met him here.
Okay.
And Charles, also Charles.
To have people that have been on multiple shows, it's kind of cool.
Did you just see the scavenger Mando with all the crazy hair, like the Afro dreadlock kind of?
Yeah.
My friend Jason Chu, but was also one of the Red Guards that finished me.
Oh wow.
Some friend. Jeez.
It was such an honor. Him, Kurt Nelson, these guys, man, such an honor to. I mean, I texted them. I was like, this just to hold this. Like, I'm so glad it was you guys that was there. It was a big deal, man. That night, it was heavy. It was a.
Oh yeah.
It was a lot, man.
Also, it was great to see Charles. I mean, those who are a big fan of Top Gun Maverick, there's Warlock right there.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, an incredible gentleman.
But hearing the story of how he finally surrendered the Darksaber was just like heart-wrenching. And how she was played by Gideon.
Why things turned out the way they did.
And don't trust the ISB.
Did we learn that in Andor?
I should have, but apparently not.
Speaking of Andor, Denise was a sweetheart and a half.
Oh yeah.
Yay.
She was amazing.
Like Grogu's just sitting there, is like, yeah, I'm here too. Like,
Yeah, he's going into battle. He's not being left behind this time.
He's like our Frodo.
Only his feet aren't as hairy.
How do we know?
That'll be a big reveal.
Yeah.
That'll be a whole
season
double
4.
thing for Grogu.
Grogu's as furry as a Jawa.
Right.
There you go.
There were a couple of reveals in Star Wars Celebration London that maybe shouldn't have slipped out with some of the people that were signing. Spencer knows what I'm talking about.
I know exactly.
You just can't help it. You sign something and
you start a conversation.
You
and
you get which season, which movie?
then
I like that line. Like, it's always our division that divides us, because it's the only way you're going to stop them. Get them to turn on each other. So
It's Simon. I literally had a hard time recognizing some of the newer, the Mandalorians that have been on the planet on Mandalore for the times, looking at them thinking, where do I know you from?
A lot of Mandalorians now.
well, the other one thing was like that Carl would talk about, like in I guess filming, was that just be prepared for a lot of Mandalorians. That's all I could talk about.
Well, this whole section is like one of the reasons why I say that this episode could have been like 3 episodes. It's like the time from they're on Navarro, they come here, they're on the ship. The scene coming up with the creature, I think, could have been like half an episode.
Yeah.
Right there. It's just it shows you how much more an important story they have to tell as to how much they're having to compress the really cool shit that's going on here.
It's for sure part of it. And I always wish for more in those ways. But also I love the idea that it, like as a little kid, I remember all these sub stories that we didn't have then. Where do all those go? And then my imagination got to go and wander down those roads and create my own stories about it, because they've come from somewhere. What must that be? Right.
Right.
And this kind of has hints of that for me as an older person.
Just leaving enough of a kind of a tidbit.
Leave little trails. What was the rest of that conversation like? Or
right. Everybody else can expand on it themselves.
Well, that'll be cool. And, maybe in another 20 years, we'll see some more of that stuff. It's like we finally get the play set of the sail barge, the Mandalorian sail barge. And
I think it's massive.
Well, they did say that HasLab is coming back. So,
the game we're playing here too. Did they talk anything about that?
Not.
It's like a chess kind of thing.
Yeah, it's dope. It's like Go and chess together.
Oh, yeah. It looked kind of similar to that as well. Yeah. I was wondering if it was a variation of like the Hollow game that they play, the Dejaric or whatever.
Right.
But it's very different than that. But I love how they start to argue over the the rules.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah.
And there's a lot of games that are like that, where you play by the family rules versus the box rules,
regional rules, right?
Yeah, that too as well. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But I really wanted the pissed off flip Monopoly board moment where somebody just flipped the board.
There was a cool moment that we filmed after that where we come together and we have a laugh together, but that didn't make it. Yeah, we sit back down, we start playing again, and that's kind of a mending of the tribes.
Right. So you can't flip the board if you're going to sit back down and be good to go at that point. But it's a great fight for sure.
But it happens all over. It's like if you play pool, right? American rules are different to British rules. If you play blackjack, that's different rules at different places, and people like, oh no, that's not the way you do this.
Okay,
something like
that's not the gentleman's way you're playing.
This is kind of cool. This is the first time we're seeing the armorer man a ship.
Yeah, that's what I thought too when she flew away. Oh, of course she has skills.
Right.
That ship reminds me of the ship in Disney's Treasure Planet. It's very reminiscent of that.
Yeah, it's a very Treasure Planet. It's kind of like got Waterworld vibes thrown in. Lots of.
Yeah, it's a little kind of Mad Maxy, this whole dystopian thing.
My friend Reef Graham and Mallory.
Oh, that's great. It's got to be so much more fun to do a show where you're familiar with a lot of the other people you're working with.
So great. Either I'd known some, I'd heard of others, and then I got to know others. It was
really cool.
And then to work with them for weeks is it's a blessing to get that much together time, because a lot of times you're there a couple days and you just brush off each other.
I love that blade. That blade is amazing.
Boom.
Ooh, yeah, that's such a great move right there. Jetpack knee to the forehead.
Yeah, there's a lot of jetpack moves going on in this episode.
Well,
And
it's good
everybody's
to
just
see it
standing
actually
around. It's
used
like-
tactically.
I just like the way some of the clan is standing around just shaking heads going,
Yeah.
gonna do better than that.
This is the scene I was talking about that JJ directed that was just phenomenal and performed in, and it was amazing.
I don't know. There's a Mandalorian kid over to the side that's giving me Corky Kreese vibes, though.
The
after-
curly hair kid.
Going
yeah,
back
he
to,
looks very, very much like that shirt we have on TeePublic.
going back
I'm
to
just
Jake.
saying.
Going
Which
back,
kid? Let's see.
He's kind of got like brownish, light brown, curlyish hair.
Yeah.
Kind of.
And there was a picture of him, or there was a scene that he and Mandy, a girl, were together, a girl with braids.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's with.
I think who you're talking about is a friend of mine's son, who's a friend of mine too, Reef Graham.
Oh, here comes somebody. What's going on?
And his dad doubled Wahlberg for years. And
Oh wow, that's cool.
so just talking about JJ a minute ago,
Hey.
Tate,
okay.
we did the watch along like you with JJ, and he was just basically pointing out to some of the stunts that he was performing. And by the end of the episode, I was like, "How are you in one piece?
Yeah.
How are you literally alive? I don't
Like,
get it."
aren't all your
I
bones
hadn't seen
broken?
him since Mando, right? So like last April or whatever, May. And then I saw him on this job and he's like, yeah, and I just broke my neck. He was working on another show. I won't say it, but like, and he was doing a front gainer in a full suit on a show that had suits similar to this, and went forward and broke his neck.
My God.
And then that was in practice because he wanted to see if he could do a gainer because he's a jackass.
Oh man.
And so then his neck is broken. And then he says to Reef, who was next to him there too, and he goes, hey, when we go, we're just doing this once, and then I got to go. And then he goes and he does it again, and then he drives himself to the hospital. And then I saw him,
Crap.
and it's like
Oh, my
2.5
God.
months later, and he's rearing a horse.
Oh Jesus.
Like, he's an animal.
It's like he's got
Ooh.
Beskar bones.
He's an
Do we-
animal.
So what's
Do we
our
do we have
special
a
guest here?
do we have a
Or-
guest?
Yes, I believe we have a surprise for everybody tonight. I think she's incognito, but she's in the room. Mystery person, are you there?
I'm here.
She has
do we
arrived.
do we have 10 guesses? Are you involved with
There's a giveaway on the at least the Zoom version. Oh, I'm not seeing it on Facebook.
Yeah,
so
it's not on Facebook, so
that's funny.
we're
I
good.
don't know if YouTube can see it, but I don't
does
know,
your
it's cool.
does your
It's
first
good.
name begin with an E?
Mhm.
Maybe.
No.
Were you recently in Europe?
Oh man, was I ever? I left
Oh,
my
yeah.
voice there.
Yeah. Welcome.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
I hear
believe-
this very special episode tonight.
Very big episode.
I believe.
Oh,
it's
man.
still off.
I had to pre-watch the episode so that I could reduce the chance of crying watching it
Yeah.
with you guys here.
Oh,
Amazing episode. Kudos all around. Everybody did such great
This
work
is
on
the
it.
part where Mike Benzel walked down with the IG-12 where I was like, oh my God, I can't believe unsure footing on sand and rocks, downhill in a jog. It was crazy. Yeah.
Watching that man with IG-12 was unbelievable.
Unreal.
wow.
So many firsts in this episode. The armorer with the jetpack.
I know, although very, very anticlimactic since I don't actually use it in the episode.
But you did get to fly your own aircraft.
Right.
Yeah, that was pretty fun.
That's right. So the
That's
armorer
so cool.
the armorer piloting.
Yeah.
Grogu communicating through choice.
This was funny. They were just
Yeah.
they're walking through and he goes, they're like, oh yeah, we used to live here. And then I just have a line, you lived here? Except one time I say it, I put a lot on it, and I was like, "You lived here?" Everybody died.
Oh,
What were you thinking?
Where are you guys? I'm obviously. since I
We're
didn't- I
down.
don't
We
know where
just
you-
went to find the forge, and all the stormtroopers are just flying in right now, and we're
The-
getting into a
The
big
new
gun
Dark
battle.
Troopers.
Oh crap!
Yeah, it's
And-
getting close.
and,
to
That's what we said.
Yeah.
How are
Oh,
you
yeah,
doing?
they
Emily?
come in and it takes a minute before we figure out who they are, and then we're like, "Oh, it's them." No,
This was a bit like getting on the train back from Celebration to our hotel.
Emily, I believe your camera's still off. I don't know if you were aware.
Oh,
of
is that my fault that I can't be seen? I thought you guys
Yeah.
were dramatic.
no, we
I
don't.
thought you
do
did.
it.
There she is. Yay.
Yes, there's our surprise.
I thought you were in the tub.
You
Emily.
didn't.
Yeah, we didn't want indisposed.
I was like, I'm talking. Why am I still just a dark figure?
Yeah. We
But
weren't
it's
sure,
so
but-
wonderful to see you. It's so lovely to
Yeah.
ride on you on the floor at Celebration. How was your experience this past week?
At Celebration, it was.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just this is only my second celebration, and it was even more epic than the first one because, I mean, because we're right in such a sweet spot with the season right now, and everyone is so excited about it and just so generous with their appreciation of it, and it was just so much. I mean, it was a lot of fun, and I happily lost my voice there, and I'm thank goodness like 80% back now, and I'm going to another convention tomorrow, so I'm
Lots of
just
tea.
glad.
There you go.
Yeah,
And good night's sleep.
yeah.
I know
Yeah,
you're up
doing this-
against it, so I really appreciate you popping in.
Oh my gosh, you kidding me?
Yeah.
Of course.
Cool.
How
How about that? How about that forge on the stage?
That was unbelievable.
Crazy.
I didn't realize it was a forge until I was out there sitting down for a few minutes. And then, so
Right in front of it.
these Belgian prop builders
Yeah.
built this whole stage that was like Navarro.
Yeah.
And the center of it was the Armorer's Forge. And then they let me, my last day there was Sunday. And after they had finished with all of the live stage interviews and everything, they let me go out there and like we all like walked out down the runway, like me and the builder guys, and have all this fog smoke coming up, and then I got to pick up all the tools and got to take some
So
pictures
cool.
and stuff, and they blew smoke in my face at appropriately humbling moments.
That was a really funny video that you posted,
It
by
was
the way.
just- I mean, what the heck? What
So
the
we're-
heck?
That was absolutely incredible. So we're at the part right now where they're all ambushing
Din Djarin.
Djarin right now.
Yep.
Oh,
Oh,
that's painful.
right. We're
was-
at the point where we're like, oh, if only that armorer hadn't told him to get rid of the Beskar spear, he might have needed that at this moment.
Hey, look, my husband's here.
Oh, hello.
Hey, Chad. How are
Hi.
you?
Dad. Hey.
Good to see you, brother.
Oh man, she
Look
was
at that
like,
helmet.
"You
That's
cried."
amazing.
And I go,
Thank you.
yeah, yeah, I did cry too. Tried not to cry, and then she's like, "Are you crying?"
it's okay.
Yes,
It's okay
I-
to cry. You can
So
cry.
great.
There's a lot of
Oh,
tears that
well, I know
happen.
it's okay to cry.
Shed a tear for Tate.
But man,
Arthur.
you're incredible.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Arthur. Hey, buddy. Come here, do you want to
Andalore will live
Yeah,
on with me.
I get, there's nothing wrong with crying, but you don't
That's-
expect
that's
to.
where
It's
I
an
got
unexpected
crazy.
cry.
Although there's no crying in baseball.
Oh,
No crying in
Oh,
baseball.
you know what? Arthur has something to tell
Oh,
you though,
the-
Tate,
Arthur.
because when I was in Cleveland a few weeks ago, the friends who made Norma Jean her armorer costume.
my
was-
friends Brent and Araya. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Brett has said that he's gonna make Arthur a Paz Vizsla.
Oh my
Costume.
goodness, yes.
Yay.
Then I
Although
said
he's
that
feeling
I
so
would like
good.
a Paz Vizsla costume.
Right? Exactly. Right? Totally.
You like your mini me.
Sure.
Keep them coming.
That's so cool.
Arthur, are you going to be Big Paz?
The best.
Oh, yes, he is.
Yes, I could be passed.
Boy, Norma
Some
Jean
pause
is
right there.
a stunner when she comes all. I mean, boy, oh boy.
Could you imagine standing on one side of the glass and watching this going on?
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Gosh,
it's
you'd be
so intense.
losing your mind.
Well,
This
the
also has
revelation that this
rings
kid-
of episode 1 a little bit with Obi-Wan watching Qui-Gon get skewered. Spoiler alert for 23.
Oh,
4 years.
And by the way,
Really?
Emily, by the way, I'm glad you left Sunday because Spencer and I went Monday. We passed each other in the concourse and went, just grunted at each other, went in opposite directions. By the Monday, we were done. No more.
I don't know how anyone had anything left on Monday.
Is quite a con.
Well, we hear very much that people were happy to see you there. Is our friend Skip tells a story that he had to call you over to talk to the kids that were checking him out so he could actually get out of Heroes and Villains because they wouldn't check him out. They're just sitting there staring at you, who had shown up like a little bit behind him in the booth. And he's like, Emily, could you come like take a selfie with this kid so I can check out?
Heroes and Villains they're such great people over there, and I love their stuff.
Oh, their
Yeah.
stuff's
I
always
know.
amazing.
Drew, who's their creative director, is a really great guy from Texas, and I just love his passion for what he does and for the gear he creates and for the fans. It's awesome.
All their stuff is. I'm kind of disappointed at how exclusive some of it can be because they stuff will get discontinued or whatever. But it's all
Yeah.
amazing. There was another element there, very reminiscent of episode 1, was cutting the hole in the blast door with the saber.
Ooh.
We're sitting here
Right.
right now. Is Paz is just going say hello to my little friend.
Seriously. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I was so bummed when I started seeing that tip start to glow. I was like, oh no, I don't want to see what's going to happen.
And he just hit the blast doors, and we're like, no.
Yep. But he's like, I'm going to
That's-
take it.
You just say this is the way, and you just dive right into the fray. That was just like, oh man.
That's reality, During wartime, weapons would overheat.
Yeah, once that gun started to overheat, I was like, no, that's bad. That's a bad sign.
Yeah, we had somebody ask in the chat, was any of that the overheating of that making the gun, was that practical, or was that was all CG?
No, that was CG. There was parts in it where we'd put extension tips on the gun, whether we wanted strobing lights or whether we wanted different effects at the end that we played around with. But mainly, I believe that was all CG.
Yeah, because like the smoke on it is what's like really, it's like, whoa, that.
Dang.
See, this is my favorite part right there. You're just taking out and you just like chuck the last two, and we're like,
And I thought, yes.
Yeah, we're like, did he finish it?
Yeah.
And then you're like,
What was your impression of Paz's last stand?
these
You
guys.
finally saw it.
The slow-mo is like, oh.
You asking me, Spencer?
Yes, ma'am. What was your impression of Paz's last stand?
It was beautiful. I love the way that it built. I love the way that and I just think that, like, thinking back to episode 3 of season 1, was that when we first meet Paz?
Oh yeah.
When you have that confrontation with Din.
Yep.
I just love, I love how much we have seen his character. Not really, like, I wouldn't say he's changed, because he's ultimately, like, at his core, he holds to the Mandalorian ideal, and he has done that from the beginning. He just didn't trust that Din also did that. So he didn't trust Din at the beginning.
Tate was mentioning that earlier, that it was
Yeah, we had the exact same conversation, and I said the
Huh.
same thing. I go, well, he hasn't changed. Well, what's cool about that is that because the
Perception.
audience is emotional for the hero, even
Yeah.
though the hero is maybe not correct. But so to hold that unpopular line until the whole audience goes, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's cool. It's I love that arc.
fundamentally, he doesn't trust anybody that doesn't walk the way.
Right.
Well,
But I had to send a message to JJ, our
Look at that
fight coordinator, this week, because I am just so, I do not have the mastery of, like, in the knowledge, technical knowledge of fights and stunts that Tait does. But what I do know, I'm so pleased with the storytelling of these fights. Like, I love that for the armor, we've seen her stick with hammer and tongs this season. And I love that for Tait with this final fight for Paz, that he really gives it every last thing you get. He has this magnificent, powerful machine of a gun that can fire so powerfully. And even when that breaks down, he doesn't just toss it aside. He uses it. Like, he bludgeons people with it. Like, he uses every last thing that he has to fight to the end.
Well, and beyond that, he dies with his hands at the throat. Is like knife's gone, everything's gone. He dies and his hand is.
Doesn't he pull one of the guys closer to him, which ultimately gets him stabbed more at one point?
He just drives in as Yep.
And what an incredible tie-in also to the sequel trilogy as well, but the Pylorian guards as well.
As when those guys showed up, it just it sent chills down my spine.
They fight Jedi. It's like, how I don't know what's gonna happen.
You get these tinges of evil incarnate, like evil at a different level than just that those guys really embodied. I mean, they personify emotion with these characters in a huge way. Yeah.
Amazing.
So, like we said, we hope that Paz ends up in a mod shop somewhere, or it's somewhere in some Bacta tank somewhere, and get some healing action going on from there. But we were talking about earlier, and I'm going to go to this question to Emily, the arc between Paz being like your right-hand man, the one who was schlepping your forge around the galaxy, little codes. I mean, how would you sum up the relationship between Paz and the armor?
There is just unquestionable trust there. I mean, it always felt like there was just so much that didn't have to be said. And as I have said to Tait, it helped me so much because there was very little that we were told about the armorer and Paz. And so for me as an actor, having this gift of a human being in Tait inhabit this character, because Tait is, I mean, you can see he's like obviously strong and formidable, but he is such a thoughtful, wise person of integrity, and somebody who does hold to ideals, and somebody who does put others first, and somebody who is so considerate. And so it really made it easy for me to imagine that Paz and the armorer would be really close, and that they would have an easy understanding, and that they wouldn't have to like talk through a whole lot of things, that they get each other on a deeper level, because it does feel like they are two people who are holding so tightly to this deeply, deeply rooted ideal of the creed in a way that some people might see as archaic or might see as restrictive, but I don't see it that way. I just see it as unyielding to the way the world might toss you about.
Right.
And that has such value. And I think that has such value to an audience watching it today too, because we're in a world that is, offering us all these different ways to bend to the wind. So I really value that, even though we don't see them talk much, we don't hear much of what they say to each other. I feel like that relationship is so integral to understanding the Mandalorian creed, and that the friendships there and the family.
A lot of knowing head nods between the two of them. So
Yeah.
So we're
They
going with the
understand each
best
other.
of comrades until we see who Ragnar calls mommy.
Oh.
We
mm.
wondered about that too. I mean, no one told us anything, but
Yeah.
Well, we had a comment in our YouTube chat that said we feel that Emily is reading the eulogy of Paz Vizsla right now. So,
Mm.
Tate,
I mean, look, I don't know. I mean, even my husband said, he was like, he's not really dead, is he? As if I know for sure. I don't know for sure. They don't tell us.
How did it
I would
feel?
tell you if I
to-
got an email, but I haven't gotten an email.
How did it
Dang.
feel to share that title card at the end?
How special.
Yeah,
I mean,
that
I
was-
told Tate I didn't notice it because when we saw the screening at Celebration, as soon as it ended, they sort of rushed us out.
I'll show you guys that.
And so I didn't even watch the credits. I didn't notice that. And it wasn't until I was sitting here at home watching it again yesterday that I saw that. And I took a picture of it and I sent it to him. And I was like,
Yeah,
can you
so
believe
cool.
this?
Yeah.
Emily,
Yeah.
how did it
And
feel?
then right when she sent that is when I'm watching this. I just start watching it for the first time. And then I see your post later. It's just like the whole thing. I was,
Oh,
Emily,
Yeah,
how
love the
special
show.
was it watching it with that crowd? I mean, I was sitting there with those 4,500 people, and it was just like you could hear a pin drop by the end of the episode.
It was something really, really sweet. I mean, especially because, the very first time I got to watch the show with a crowd, for the season 1 premiere, I still didn't really understand what on earth I was getting into. I didn't know who these like Mandalorian mercs were. I didn't understand
Right.
this side of the fandom. I knew what Star Wars was, but I didn't know. I didn't know. I
But-
like got inducted into the 501st and I was like, what is this? Who are these people?
But it's sort
I
of like the old days, right? Where we'd all go and watch a movie
yeah.
with a couple of
and
hundred
so
people,
now
and
it-
all the audience reaction would always be the same, and the oohs and the ahs and the oh.
Yeah,
it's like
like it was
that.
exciting the first time to watch it with people, but it didn't. Now it really feels like I'm watching it with all these friends and I'm watching
Mhm.
it like,
Yeah.
and it was so, I mean, everyone's emotional response, especially to this episode, was just, it was, I mean, it was that incredible experience you have when you go to a movie and like the credits start at the end and like nobody's talking. And
and it's
Yeah.
also the way it just ends, like right
Yeah.
as soon as he drops, and you just sit there like,
It was a
like
long
5 minutes.
pause. That black after they faded to black it felt really long as well before they go into the credits. Like you're not quite sure what's going to happen.
maybe that's the opening scene of the next one, is that I'm in a
Mhm.
back to take.
And
yeah,
in a way, I'm so glad that
Black
I mean,
chrysanthemum
I,
standing over you.
I sort of guessed it, but I was so glad that Rick directed this episode because I think it needed him to deliver this news to us, right, in such a profound way.
yeah.
And that the two people that had stayed right on the path, right, of what the Mandalorians stand for, and then we lose this character, and it's just the way he delivered it was just absolutely spot on. So props to
pretty
Rick.
proud.
Yeah, it was reassuring to know that we had Rick doing that very first episode and then, coming back together at the end of the season because this season is so there's a longer arc to the season, I think, in a way than there has been before. It's more continuous, even though there's episodes that step out of it a little bit. It feels like there's a longer story that's connected.
Characterization in this season in particular, it's like we know these characters already, but we're finding out more of what makes them tick. And it's just been, as a character study, has been absolutely fantastic.
But yeah, is Hunter's wondering over here is, we've seen the Great Forge in this episode, and that, they talked a little bit about what the Great Forge was like when it was running and operating. He's like, what does that mean that there's only one armor? There's been several that we're seeing now that we're seeing all kinds of Mandalorian. There's more than one Night Owl. There's more than one there's only one heavy, obviously, but but
It
What
means
does it
she gets
mean that
really
we've got
tired.
one?
Constantly making.
I've
stuff.
asked that. I've been like, guys, shouldn't she have an apprentice or something?
Ragnar.
I get no answers.
Well,
But I
the
think
night
it's
of a
like that too. Is like the the whole we've been blown asunder, and
Mhm.
so everybody is scattered to the wind.
Yep.
And so people out of necessity become what they need. Yeah, I'm the armorer now for the four of
Yeah.
us, and this and I feel like it's like there's a lot of in this whole thing is Emily is a lighthouse, a North Star, and in that way too, probably for other armorers or whomever. It's that beautiful part too, where we all come together at the end into our places and fit together. I can't wait to see this next episode, and I want to know who's the spy. What's going on? All this spy
A
talk.
lot of
I'll say that a
suspicion
lot of
over
people
here in the
flat out
chat
think
is
that
that,
a lot of people think that the armorer is suspect.
I know. I cannot believe everything that I was seeing online.
It's like, oh, now
Isaac
she's
is.
best friends with Bo-Katan. Like, okay, what's going on now?
Man, people think that I really have a strategy here that I'm and
I'm gonna guess it's
complete
Axe
that I flew
Rose.
away and
Axis Simon, yes. Well, there was a great. I think it was Screen Crush I was watching today. They're like, well, if you look at the armorer's helmet, and then you look at Moff Gideon's helmet, and then you go back to the Clone Wars, there's got to be something there, and almost like, oh, come on.
That's going too far.
That's where you say, mind your business, nerd.
I've heard so many theories about so
So-
many things.
Tait, I have a question for you. So just like when we talked to Emily a few weeks ago about, what it was like to do the Grogu flashback scene, who delivered the news to you that has his demise? I mean, when did you find out? What was your reaction? Who told you, and how did you prepare for it?
I think it was the very first day that I was on set, and John came and welcomed me and said hello, and then he's just kind of running down the season, and he asked me if I'd seen a couple of shows. He'd written this. He's like, look at all the hero deaths. Look at Dune. Look at in Game of Thrones. Look at he's like, this is the kind of character that you're becoming to serve to save the rest, right? You sacrifice yourself, and it's this beautiful death scene. And so I kind of had a vague idea of it then. I hadn't seen any of the writing. I didn't know exactly what it would be, but at the very front, I knew that, and then I was excited because there's mystery in it for me too. I mean, you're not, like Emily said, you're not given morsels of like, what does this all look like? This, it's breadcrumbs, and but that's another part of this whole thing is to see John and Dave, particularly John, nearly every day to go out and run down the episode. Here's what I was thinking. Here's what I think intentions are. And I've said this before, but I think one of the most beautiful things is somebody was saying inside of these rehearsals one morning, well, what about this? How are they going to be like this? And how's this going to go? I want to know how this is going to go. And John's going to walk away for the rest of the day after this. And he just goes, well, I think we won't know until they do that. And we're going to let them discover that. And that kind of thing right there, there's people that want to know. I want to tie all this up so I can, it's like, it's not a corset, man. That's not what we're doing. And that idea where he lends the freedom and the allowance for creativity to come in, to explore what it might be, because maybe me as the creator, I don't even have the best idea right now. So let's see what else happens when it just happens.
Mm-hmm.
How cool is that?
I really like
Yeah,
that. And you
that's
had said earlier
so
about
cool.
how they didn't tie up all that. There's so many other side stories that this episode brings and gives us and lets us play with in our imaginations forever, and until one day we decide to take a little bit of that and tell it or not. And I think that's great. I love how you look at it that way.
So, Tait, what do you think is going to be the legacy of Paz Vizsla?
Ragnar.
Yeah.
I think Ragnar's got a long, beautiful life ahead, and I think he's got an axe to grind, and I think there's a lot of cool battles that young man is going to have in his life.
You just got to stay away from all these crazy flying, swimming,
it's-
dragon,
yeah.
bird, beast
If that
face.
kid
Yes.
could
Don't
stay
go near
away
the
from
water.
the edge of the water,
Yeah,
we'd be
what's-
okay.
Stay away
we
from the
asked-
water.
We asked Tate this. What's with Mandalorians walking towards the water? That happened like every time something happens. Like, oh, this is not the first time. Wait, why are you still there? Like,
Move.
Kind of like people being in the tornado alley. Why would you want that address? But here we
Yeah.
are.
Building homes on the beach, you know?
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah, I
You
think
guys, I gotta take off because I gotta go make
No,
some.
you do. Have the
Wonderful.
best weekend.
have a great weekend, Emily.
Thanks
Thank
for
you so
stopping
much
by.
Thank you
jumping
for
on.
having me.
Thank
It's
you.
so nice to
We
see all
love
of you.
Anytime.
Hey,
Good night.
love
Always a
you.
pleasure.
Love you so much.
Trip.
One of these days I'll see you in person instead of just seeing you
can't
on
wait.
all these screens.
Have
I look forward to that.
Me too.
a great evening.
See you shortly,
Take
I'm
care.
Bye,
sure.
Emily.
Well,
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
thank you. For anyone in my neck of the woods here in the North Carolina, South Carolina area, where Emily is talking about is she's going to be at South Carolina Comic-Con in Greenville, South Carolina this weekend. So
Nice.
if you are close by, that's worth a couple hours drive just to hang out. That's good. She promises to be
On the 5th and 6th, I'll be in Fort Myers, Florida at HeroCon.
Ooh,
Nice.
very
that's not
cool.
far from me.
Oh, right on.
Mm-hmm.
You
Santa
might get a
John.
visit from the Knotman.
Oh, hang on. Let me add that.
Yes. You got any other cons on the schedule
Get
coming
to
up?
meet me.
Pardon me?
Oh,
Do you
I
have
get-
any other cons on the schedule coming up?
Yeah,
soon?
but stuff in the fall and things like that. I wish I had something sooner, but I just haven't really dialed into that whole thing so much yet. But little by little,
Yeah.
I'd love to go.
When
You know,
you should
when
do,
know, let us know so we can put it out there on the page.
Yeah, definitely.
And
Any
he's
appearance.
watching.
I'd-
Chuck,
yeah,
and he's
I'd love to
watching right
go.
now.
I've been-
Chuck, get him some bookings. Chuck, get him some
Yeah,
bookings.
I'm thinking you should have some kind of connection with like a local con, like the one coming up, Comic Con Revolution out in Ontario. Because stuff like I think Mercedes is going to be there,
Oh,
and
cool.
so that would be something that easier to at least access. You wouldn't have to worry about traveling so far and all that kind of stuff. But
Well, any of it's great, man. I'd just love to be a part of it.
yeah, they got to invite you. So
Yeah,
right.
Well, I can't wait to see you in Fort Myers. That'd be cool.
right on, man. Yeah, that'd be great.
But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us tonight with Tate. It's been an absolute
Amazing.
pleasure. Ashley, before we close out, anything you want to say?
Just thank you so much for being Taz on the show and just being like a strong force for the way and for good. And your presence will be missed on the show, and we can only hope we see you again in some other form in the future.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
There was somebody that was, everybody was, I mean, so beautiful and kind with everybody's messages and everything. But they're talking about being sad and missing Paz, and that, I think it's important that he go. I think it's important, but I also think it's important to think of what it was that he did and how it remains, right? And
Yeah.
that echo
His
that
legacy
he
is amazing.
created in that death, I think, is the nourishment that lives on through Mandel. I think, and I'm couldn't be more honored to be a part of that legacy. Thank you.
That's so cool. You're welcome.
Very
John.
awesome.
Oh, first of all, thank you for all your work on all of the episodes and all the seasons of Mandalorian. Just incredible, versatility and great acting and great scenes, and like you said, a legacy of what he's built, for the Mandalorian clan, and being so, pure and protecting and everything. It's just so cool, and I can't imagine as an actor what you go through to prepare for what's going to happen to your character. Is just unbelievable. So thank you again for such wonderful insights and great kind of talk about your experience in working on the season. Thank you, Tate. It's been amazing.
Thanks, man. It's great to know you. I hope I
Yeah.
see you in Fort Myers.
It was it was great having you here. Thanks a lot again. You're a great guy on Zoom. It was great talking to you in Bakersfield last year. So definitely look forward to seeing you out on the con circuit if you can make some
Yeah.
good cons. Well, that'll be great.
We need Tate on more of the convention circuit. He's a great guy. So
Right
whoever's
on.
out there, Let's
We'd
get
love
him
to
out
see you and like Emily and a few others like lined up and having a ball together. That would be
Yep.
a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's the best way, is to travel with Emily and a crew and
Little Leilani.
be all together. And
I'm not so sure about Leilani. She's trouble.
In a good way.
Love you, Leilani.
Dave.
Yeah, I'm so thankful for like what the writers and the directors and you with your performance have done. The ride you took us on just in this episode alone.
Exactly.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
the high and the low, because I mean, really, we saw it coming when the blast doors closed and you said this is the way, and then you just mow them all down, you fight through it. And I really did. I was in my living room I think I watched this in the middle of the night, and I
Same.
woke
I was literally on the edge of my seat, like up, up against the.
This is just such a ride and such an enjoyable thing to do. An enjoyable way to do it. You mentioned earlier that you've been doing a lot of like horse riding and stuff. Is there another project that you're going to be in that you can?
oh yeah, I'm just working on a thing that a show. It's an Amazon show that a fellow that wrote The Revenant wrote, in a Western. So yeah, just that a little bit. I just picked up another thing on. They're doing a show about Bass Reeves. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that legendary marshal, black marshal in the American West. And so,
Oh, we will watch the hell out of that.
a little
That's
bit, yeah. That show coming up. I mean, that show that I was speaking of with Katie O'Brien. That's got to be coming out pretty soon. Love Lies Bleeding. It's her, Kristen Stewart, Ed Harris.
Wow, great cast.
Great.
Well,
Tate, first and foremost, it's always a pleasure just chatting you and shooting the shit with you in general. But having you for this particular episode, it was just like, to get the inside of this, it was just like, this had literally can be said, if not the best episode of the season, one of the best episodes of the series, bar none.
Dude, I haven't seen anything that is. There's not a better hour of Star Wars since what, the 90s. I mean, it's like, it's incredible. This is incredible. So I mean,
it gave you
my bias notwithstanding.
Yeah. So humble, Mr. Tait Fletcher. No,
what a masterpiece, man.
No, it was incredible. Made us laugh, made us cry, made us like I said, when you got a room full of 4,500 people who are cheering, laughing, and then all of a sudden pin drop, and you're hearing crickets. It's kind of like, oh my God. Like, so thank you for bringing this incredible character to life and just going out like on your own terms, blaze of glory, guns firing, F it, I'm using this and beating the crap out of them at the end. Just like, damn, man. Like, thank you so much for being a part of the Star Wars universe. And most importantly, as we all say, thank you very much for being a member of our virtual Cantina family. It's a true honor to be your friend.
I love sitting in the cantina with y'all.
Well,
it's real welcoming and it's real homey. So thank you guys for the table that you set here.
You're welcome.
It's our absolute honor. So we have a lot of things coming up in the next couple of weeks, which we will talk about a little bit later on, especially a recap next week of Celebration, which we will get more into that over the weekend. So for right now, from Dave, from Ashley, from Jeff, from John, and the incomparable Mr. Tait Fletcher, I like to say, this is the way.
This is the way.
Thank you all so much.
Thanks, Tate. Excellent episode. Sad day for Paz Vizsla lovers.